Well, making her return to Christmas Clatter after a year off is Rehya Stevens. She's back again with another fantastic Christmas album to add to her collection. And didn't get to hear from her last year because of scheduling things, but this year she's back with a fury with this album called "'Tis the Season," named after the single she released in 2019 after her 2018 release of "Celebrate." And Rhea, thanks so much for hopping back on Christmas Clatter with me.
Anytime. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, and thank you for carving out time for me.
Oh, anytime, anytime. Well, I asked you last time you were here if you were going to make any more Christmas music, and I think at the time you were a little unsure. You had other things on your plate, but lo and behold, you spent most of 2020 in quarantine and cutting some new Christmas music for all of us to enjoy for this year. So just take us back. Every idea starts with like a seed and a thought. So just take us back. What prompted you to make another Christmas album so quick after Celebrate?
Well, I had actually recorded, I think we had recorded about, let's see, it must have been 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 songs for the Celebrate album.
Mm-hmm.
And we did not get to finish them all in 2018, but we had all of the sessions of the live musicians. And so everything was kind of half finished. Well, at least I think four of the songs on the album were half finished. So I just took the bull by the horns and said, well, I can finish these four. I can record the vocals. I can do the background vocals. I can, hire out for anything else that I need. And it just inspired the whole album, really, because I already had four of the tracks finished, and then I went, well, I can do this. I mean, there's certainly plenty of time. And I have to say, I loved it. I mean, I loved having concentrated, focused energy for about a year and a half to work on this record. I worked with a producer named Tom Keene. He is so masterful, and he happens to live right down the street from me. And I think I started working with him in, it must have been January of 2020. And by March, of course, everything was shut down. But, everybody quarantined. It was okay to get together and record, and we just made it happen.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that a lot of it was finished by the end of 2020, but it was not the year to release a really cheerful Christmas album. I mean, we were all just hanging on by a thread, and this album is so buoyant and so cheerful. And I would listen to it and go, this just feels like such a juxtaposition to what is going on in the world. Am I crazy to make this fun music? But I think, it's like people who play together stay together. And I just hope that this album is playful and fun enough so that we can, just lighten the mood as much as we possibly can.
Yeah.
I mean, all of this has been going on is important, but it's some levity is nice to have.
Yeah. Well, for those that are familiar with Celebrate, this new album "'Tis the Season," which is named after the single that you released in 2019. It fits that same vein of taking beats from the past and making real classic sounding Christmas music, but the themes are, like you said, a lot different. They're more cheerful and more like
fun loving.
Fun living. And I was going to say, maybe you're like a clairvoyant or something, because Celebrate was so, hey, we need to focus on the stuff that's really important, and then 2020 happens, and now you're like, all right, we can we can have a little fun now. So maybe 2022 would be much better this year. So it's all riding on you. And
That's an important thing, but I think we're all tapped in to each other. I mean, you know what I was thinking about today? Might be such a strange thought. It is a strange thought, but I wondered what is with like these past 2-3 years. Have you noticed that everybody is painting their walls gray?
Yeah.
Like gray is the new, gray is the new pink or something like that.
Right.
But I've wondered if it's been some sort of subconscious tapping into, we've seen things in black and white for so long.
Right.
And now we're seeing the gray area.
Yeah.
And everybody's painting everything gray.
Well,
I mean, I do wonder if, 5 years from now, we're going to go, oh yeah, we're going to walk into these homes and these offices and go, they must have done this in 2019, 2020, right around there. And I think it's interesting. I think we are tapped into, we're all so connected.
Yeah. That's
even when
hilarious.
We don't know, we know.
Yeah. That's hilarious because we just did some painting before we decorated for Christmas, and we painted gray.
Exactly.
It's like in May or June, Holly was like, we need to paint the hall and stuff. And I was like, okay, we'll find some paint and let's get it painted. And she came home with all these like samples of gray because she wanted to do gray. I'm like, gray's fine by me. And she had this one called French Colonial or something from like Sherman-Williams or whatever. And that's one she liked, but just weren't sure because you never know with them cards and that little square they give you. And then we went on vacation. We went on vacation to the beach, and my family and my sister and her kids and my mom and dad rented a house and stayed down there. And they had gray walls, and she's like, I just love these gray walls. So I messaged the property manager, like, what color is these walls? And they're like, it's like colonial or French colonial or whatever it was from Sherman-Williams, the same color she wanted. So she's like, well, that's it. That's the one I want. So
she knew.
Yeah. But
it's interesting.
Yeah. But let's get to 'Tis the Season. I really like the album cover because it's like knowing you, I know some of your influences and stuff, and I see the Amy Grant and the Mariah Carey influences.
Yes.
And I just thought that was just a great touch because it kind of honors those great singers and their great Christmas albums from the past. And so what made you just kind of lean in towards that on the album cover?
Well, let me tell you, I did a lot of cooking during COVID and put on a little bit of weight. So I needed to look for things that would, kind of cover some of that. And the great thing about when it gets colder is that you can, wear larger clothing.
Yeah.
So
you put on a hoodie.
So, yeah. You know what though? I bought so much stuff for that photo shoot that I ended up taking back, but it was a really, really windy day. We had like 30-mile-per-hour winds up in Northern California. It was the only day that my sister and I had to shoot. My sister took the photographs, Katie, and she said, we're not going to be able to do this. It's just too windy out there. I said, we've got to get it done. And so, just threw on that little Santa thing. And at the last minute, I kind of grabbed that faux fur shawl and said, let's use this too. I think maybe the layers, might be helpful. And a few days before I had found a white birch tree and I said, let's just try it. So we're standing out there with the wind blowing 30 miles per hour. And I'm clipping the green branches off of the tree to make it look like winter. And my hair's blowing everywhere. She's got leaves blowing in her face. And it was so chaotic and fun. We were both cracking up. And but I loved the way that it came out. I mean, I think it looks really Christmassy.
Yeah, it looks great. You open up the album with "'Tis the Season," which is a single that you released a couple years ago, which is just a lot of fun to listen to and has a callback and stuff. But the first song I want to get to is actually the third song on the album, "Old Red Sleigh," which has a real old school element. And so people listening knows here's a little bit of Old Red Sleigh.
A-jingling all the way. So hop along, kids, stay put, cause the man in red is coming down chimney tonight. Sweet sugar plum dreams of the old red sleigh.
All right. If you guys heard it in there, there's like the background singers kind of have almost this like quartet sound to them, and that is always a lot of fun to listen to. And this song is just like we said before, real fun loving and joyful, like a classic Christmas party type of song that you would hear in the background. So, what led you to do those guys in the background with that barbershop style?
Well, actually, Tom Keene, the producer that I worked with, is the person responsible for that background vocal arrangement. And his voice was not quite low enough, but he has a son named Mason who has this really low baritone, and he said, the only guy I can think of that can really do this is Mason. And Mason is this young kid, in his early 20s, and he came in and knocked it out of the park. I mean, I think we spent maybe an hour and a half on it, and he did every single harmony. I mean, Tom is so fast too. Yeah. He just, Mason, do this, and it's so funny because the expressions that Tom makes when he's doing those kinds of voices, it's hysterical. It's absolutely, he gets the, that real 1950s like, I don't know, like almost like the Three Stooges kind of look on it. It's hilarious. So it was a lot of fun doing that. But yeah, that's all Mason. That's his son Mason.
That's great. I mean,
yeah.
So he recorded all those parts himself then, and
well, Tom recorded Mason.
Yeah.
And that's my good friend Gene Siegel on guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Gene had actually just moved to Northern California, but he was down in Los Angeles for the weekend, and I just said, hey, can you have a hollow body guitar on you? Yeah, actually I do. I have to use that for a gig tonight. Great, come on by, and he just, it all came together so well. And that song I actually wrote while I was on a bike ride back in 2019, January of 2019. And I was completely just exhausted from all of the shows and everything that we had done for the Celebrate album. And then I'm riding my bike and I'm hearing this da 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 da, and I'm going, oh man, I have to do this.
Yeah.
And it just, I think I stayed on that bike ride for like 3.5 hours and finished that song.
Oh, mercy.
Just,
yeah.
Came home and laid it down and sent it to Tom. So.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. When you get them melody lines like that in your head, you gotta work them, or they're fleeting, so if you don't work them when they're there, they'll be gone in a hurry. But yeah, that was a lot of fun to listen to, because that's like one element I wasn't expecting, and it just really brings me back. And growing up, there was a lot of like Southern gospel music, which is a lot of 4-part men singing together and stuff. So that kind of reminded me of my childhood, because like my grandparents would listen to that stuff all the time, and throughout the year, and so like I can't even remember the names, like Kingsman and Gold City and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think maybe the Statesman, I can't remember, but that's always just fun to listen to anytime you have 4 parts like that, and that kind of doo-wop style. You just can't help but to put a smile on your face.
Well, they sound like elves. It sounds like to me the elves working in the background.
Yeah.
I love that feeling of it's the whole childhood imagination of the North Pole.
Yeah. It really is, and it just adds to that flair, because you're just singing about Santa's sleigh, and it's just, what would you expect elves to sound like when they sing?
Exactly like that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, because this album took a few turns here and there on me, which I'm always happy by, because it lets me know as a listener that, you know, that the people aren't just doing the same old all the time. There's nothing, for me personally, there's nothing more frustrating when you listen to someone you like new album and it's like, this sounds like the last one I just bought. You know,
Yeah.
not that they have to go and like completely change who they are, but you know, grow a little bit, you know, would be
Yeah.
nice.
Don't do the same thing.
Yeah. Just don't do the same thing. But let's move on to this, the fourth song on here, "Marry Me for Christmas." Now,
Yes.
this song, well, before I get into it, let's just hear a little bit of it.
To say I do, I do. And Merry Christmas too.
All right. This song has a lot of elements and songs I love. For one, lyrically, the story it tells is a lot of fun. You know, talking about, you know, just kind of a sweet little love story of finding Mr. Right. The second is the pedaling piano. It doesn't matter what song it is. If there's a pedaling piano like that, I am hooked from the word go. And then
Yeah.
I picked this portion for a reason, because you like transition to this like Vince Guaraldi type thing for a while, and it was like, oh, I didn't expect it to go there, but it just fits and flows so well together. And this song is, it's probably my favorite on the album, because it's just, you know, it feels like every time I listen, I hear something different in it, you know, and I really like that, you know, and so am I too off base with the Vince Guaraldi thing, or
No, not at all. Well, that is the magic of John Kubis. That is his playing, and it's so beautiful. It's pillowy, and I mean, all of the melody and the lyrics, all of it is very pillowy and very soft. What I felt when I was writing the song was just that soft snow, that soft feeling of falling in love when it's flowing and it's all working, and it's natural, and it's not hard work. So I think John picked up on everything. The thing that I love about working with John is that he serves the song
right
so well, and he's such a brilliant player. And that's my favorite song on the album too. I love them all, though. It's hard, but that one has a special cushy place, you know.
Yeah, it does, because, and it's hard to put my finger on why. I think it's just because all the elements just are so fresh but familiar at the same time in it. And it is a Christmas song that I have a hard time placing it in like a category, because you always have that you know, wish somebody was here for Christmas kind of song, you know, or wish I was somewhere else for Christmas kind of song, or the song, you know, songs about Santa, you know. You know, Christmas music has all these categories, but this one is kind of a new category, because it's, you know, it's not a longing for someone or a longing to be somewhere. It's about the happiness of the person right in front of you, and realizing that you found them right then. And there's not many Christmas songs like that, which is really cool. And then
I think that's the way that we all want to feel.
Yeah.
That's it's that sense of safety.
Yeah.
And security, and you're set, you know.
I think it might be Stanley. I think Stanley's the reason I really like this song.
Okay, Stanley is the best part. I'm so glad that you caught that, because the outro is actually my favorite part. And you just picture that. I did picture New York while I was writing it. You know, I was picturing a millennial couple who can basically afford nothing.
Right.
And they're looking around going, well, look, everything is already decorated. We could really do this on the cheap.
Yeah.
You know, you've got a neighbor who's a minister. I know Annie over at the flower shop. She's a good friend of mine, and have her invite her little dog Stanley, and we'll just our parents and everybody, they put their hustle on hold. We can do this on the cheap. So that's kind of what I pictured. But I mean, during any time, I mean, even, you know, during the 1940s when everybody was hand to mouth, I mean, it could have happened. That song could have been written then too.
Yeah. Like I said, that pedaling piano it just, I don't know what it is about that. It doesn't matter with the song or how old. It's just something about that. I just love it. It's just one of my favorite things to listen to in music. And I couldn't tell you.
It's like the wind is at your back just enough as you're floating down the river.
Yeah. That's what it is. It's just something about that. But yeah, I cracked up when I heard about the little Yorkie Stanley. I was like, that was hilarious. This was a nice little add-on at the end there, which was
well, it's very neighborhood like.
Yeah.
You know, when you know the dogs in your neighborhood, and it's like, oh my gosh, you know. Like in my neighborhood next door, it's Kenzo, the dog next door. He comes over every day and snarfs up all the cat food in my house and then goes home.
Sounds like he's got a pretty good gig then.
He's got a good gig. That's
good
Kenzo for you.
Yeah, we have a few dogs in our neighborhood. I don't know any of their names, but they're always like stuck inside. You know, they don't ever really get out and run the neighborhood very much. But you know, well, we got our Goofy dog. He's enough for us to hang on to. He's just I don't know. He's goofy. That's the only word I can say. He always has this like little goofy look in his eye, like he's about 30 seconds behind everybody else on what's going on.
Oh, I have a cat that is always going the opposite way. It's like just as I'm trying to get out the door, he wants to come in and visit me.
Yeah.
Just as everybody's going into the kitchen, he's passing by and going to the bathroom. He's never in sync with what anybody's doing. And it's classic because you're going, oh, there he goes. You've been home all day. And the second he wants attention is when you're leaving.
Sounds like he might be a narcissist.
Oh, Sebastian. I don't think so. But, I'll look into therapists for him.
Well, Cooper is like, something he should know. It's like complicated for him, but then out of the blue, there's something that you're like, there's no way this dog's smart enough to figure that out, and he like nails it first time every time. It's like
maybe he's been thinking about it for months and months and months, and he just made the connect.
Yeah, I say he's like, you always hear people like that are like super geniuses, but then they have like no street sense about them. Maybe that's what it is. He just he can't figure out the day. He can't figure out the day to day, but but he's a good dog. He's good with the kids. So, but yeah,
there's something you gotta love a goofy dog. Goofy dogs are fantastic.
They are. Either your dog needs to be well trained and really smart, or just goofy, and you're set. So
yeah, they're all awesome.
Yeah, they are. They are fantastic. But this next song, Christmas in My Heart, I pulled this out because this felt like one of those high, I was going to say highfalutin, but I don't think anybody says highfalutin anymore, but like a Christmas ball type song. It's like a tuxedo evening gown type of ballad is kind of the feeling I got for it. But here's a little bit of Christmas in My Heart. I didn't put it in there because I like pulling out parts of songs that don't give like the best parts of the song away because I want to use them as a teaser. But this song is a constant build to the end, and it gets real big at the end, and that's really what made it have that like evening gown ballroom, Christmas ballroom kind of feel to me, and it um, just really stood out in that way because it's a style song I haven't heard you do before, and you pulled it off very, very well, and really enjoyed the feel of it. And,
Well, thank you. That was actually the first Christmas song that I wrote, even before the Celebrate album. And I saw it like, to me, it's kind of like it's like a Christmas ballet. What I saw in my mind was vignette. It's like a little vignettes of beautiful Christmas scenes, but it's not until the very end that she's saying, but those aren't the things that make it Christmas. All of these obvious things are not what makes it Christmas. So it's like, this is a time for all of these things. It's a time for love, good cheer, and friends and happiness, but that's not even what makes it Christmas. It's you and I. And so I kind of saw it as a song that would kind of just sweep in and sweep out swiftly within the context of an album. But then this was a song that John and I had recorded the musicians for, but John was busy on Dancing with the Stars. So I handed it off to Tom and said, can you do a string arrangement for this? And the more he got in there, it was less of a swift vignette of all these scenes. And it was a piece. Yeah. It was a piece, and it just, he took it to another level. I love this one too. It's so romantic.
Yes, it is. And where it sits in the album is like a real sweet spot, for it. I think, the song before it and, all the songs kind of lead up to it. And then there's this big, like I said, it gets real big at the end, and it really makes it a really a powerful song, and just really, hits a great spot there in the album. And it just is, I can't say enough good things about it. It might be my second favorite song if I had to rank them. I don't like ranking 1, 2s, 3s, but this is up there in that group, in that select group of them. And just because of the build, and it was something a little different than what I've heard from you before, and it just has a class to it that's unrivaled, and I really, really enjoyed it quite a bit.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so happy that you noticed this one, because I thought at first maybe this will just kind of, I hope it doesn't go over people's heads because it's so elegant. But it was actually my niece Sarah, who is 19. She and I were just sitting at the kitchen table one morning, and I was saying, hey, Sarah, do you think you can help me figure out how to shape this album? And she's got an excellent ear. And I would just say, okay, listen to this song going into that song. And it was those two songs, Marry Me for Christmas and Christmas in My Heart, that she said, those need to go together, Auntie. Yeah. Those two really, really belong together. Yeah. And yeah, they
do. And that song placement's so tough. It's so tough.
It really can be. I mean, I've put together set lists for years, but when it's your music, and you want people to feel them at their maximum peak. You want it to flow into the next song and feel like, oh, I love this one. And then the next one, oh, I like this one. Oh, and that happens because of the flow of an album. It's so much of it is the arrangement of how it's all set up. Yeah. It's like a movie that's poorly edited. If everything is kind of chopped up and not put in the right spots, you're not going to feel the same way.
That's very true. And there's songs that if you hear them as a single, they're like, But when you hear them sandwiched in between two other songs, it makes them shine,
Yeah.
just because, your ears, I've always loved listening to albums all the way through. And my favorite thing is to get to that last song. I never listen to the last song, out of order. I make sure I get all the listening done before it, because the last songs always fascinate me. That's the song that's always, my favorite thing is like, okay, what song did they pick last? And to see how they close it out, because it's almost like, I feel like it's the conclusion. It's like, okay, what were they going for?
Yeah.
In this, but yeah, Christmas in My Heart, it was a real standout for me. And I want to move on to Santa, Won't You Hurry?
Yes.
And I'm going to play a little bit here, but I have something that I want to see if I'm correct. I have this game I like to play with myself, is, were they influenced by this certain group? So I'll see how far off I am or not on Santa, Won't You Hurry? This is such a fun song, and when I first heard it, I could only think of one thing, and let's see how far off I am. Wilson and Phillips.
No, not at all.
Hey.
That's interesting, though.
Yeah.
It's probably the harmonies that you're hearing in there. Oh my gosh, Wilson Phillips, no. But that's interesting to hear that.
I don't get them all.
No, I think this is more of a Darling Love, the Shirelles type of a thing.
Yes, yeah. I heard that in there too, but Wilson Phillips has some of that in there too, because of Carnegie Wilson's father, and he knew a thing or two about music.
Oh,
I remember, if I remember correctly, but.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, because somebody the other day said it kind of has a Happy Days vibe to it.
Yeah.
Which was also kind of interesting, but yeah, it's got that 60s.
Yeah.
That 60s kind of thing.
I think you're right. I think it was the harmonies in that part that just really, well, that's a testament of a great song, is when multiple people can hear different things, and pull it out of there and be like, oh, you're not wrong.
Yeah, I guess it's good, because you don't want somebody to go, I know exactly where you got that idea from. That's never good.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my first thought. And I was like, oh, I bet she was trying to do a little Wilson and Phillips there. But I guess.
That'd be interesting to ask Tom, because I wonder if he took any of that, even if it was kind of a subconscious thing.
Yeah.
But he never mentioned anything like that. I mean, we were really going for Motown kind of thing. But that is Miss Amy Keys on background vocals with me. And she's fantastic. She's been, I've known her for years, but she thankfully, well, for me, was in town. She's always touring with Phil Collins. And of course, during 2020, nobody was touring. And so she was in town, and she came over and knocked it out of the park. She's amazing. Oh
yeah. It's such a fun song, and it's so upbeat and so much fun. It's really of all the songs, it's probably the most like dance tune, kind of feel, and that makes sense. I heard the Motown stuff and things, but that, I still was thinking, well, that's just, Wilson Phillips kind of like that a little bit too at times and things, but I always hear Motown and everything, I think. But I'm such a fan, but I
gotta go back and listen to Wilson Phillips now.
Yeah.
I gotta go see if that's interesting. What I like so much about this song is that it's fun. It's fun for me to take a heartbreak situation and turn it
Yeah.
into something that's really fun. And I was really thinking, when I was writing this about the first time I had my heart broken, and I was 14, right, going on 15, freshman year of high school, and a senior that I was crazy about, who already had a girlfriend. He'd had a girlfriend for like 3 years before I even got to that school. But he was writing love notes to me and sticking them in my locker. And I had no idea that he had a girlfriend. And I was getting, I had never been pursued like that before. And of course, I wasn't even allowed to date. My dad wouldn't even let me date at that age. And I just remember that he had moved on. As obviously he was a player, and all players move on eventually, but it was right before Christmas break. And he had just lost interest. And I just, all through Christmas break, anywhere we'd go, I'd go to the grocery store or the coffee shop, wherever. And I was just hoping to run into him. Just that feeling of, oh my God, wouldn't it be so amazing if I ran into him and, we could just talk and we could just, so I was kind of thinking about that while I was writing it, because I was thinking about how that first crush, they call it a crush because it's crushing.
Yeah.
But it always feels the same, no matter what age you are. But the first time that happens to you, and especially over the holidays, it just, but I thought how funny it is to look back on those things and go, gosh, remember that it was such a serious thing at that time. It was such a, and it's just a blip on the radar screen of your whole life, but it was really fun to be picturing, all of those lines, I'll just hold my pillow tight. They're very teenagery, because I was kind of going back in time to my teenage self and how that felt.
That's one thing I really enjoyed about the song, and songs in general, that a lot of times people take things lyrically that should be kind of sad, and it's always nice when they take that but then marry it with a upbeat and uplifting music, kind of a juxtaposition of the music versus the message. And this is a really fun song, and it's a little this melody gets caught in my head quite a bit.
Wonderful, fabulous.
Of all the songs, this is the one I find myself humming the most.
That's great.
In it, and it just, even though it's a little bit, the lyrics are a little bit more sad or melancholy, it still makes me smile because of the beat of the music and the harmony.
Well, it's the faith of the faith of the person who's going, it's Christmas time. Anything can work out. Right. Anything can happen. There's a magical thing. This one, because that's the way that we all feel at Christmas. We're all wanting that magical something. And so that's, I think, what makes it so fun. I think it's musically, you go, oh yeah, I know how that feels. Yeah. To just, this is terrible. Oh my gosh, but it's a dream come true at the same time. I could make it happen. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's that Christmas hope kind of thing that we always talk about here at Christmas Clatter. But you did something different with this album that you didn't do on Celebrate. You had a couple cover songs, Christmas cover songs on here. Tell us why you decided to throw in some covers.
Well, they were covers that I had done over the past 2 or 3 years that I just really liked. It's Santa Claus is Coming to Town. That song, I had actually done a rendition for Animals for the crowdfunding campaign that I did for the Celebrate album. And it was like, better not hiss, you better not scratch, you better not go and dig in the trash. Santa Claus is coming to town. Yeah. So it was all about, pets. But the track was great. And so I just thought, well, I gotta do that one. So that was already set up and ready to go. All I had to do was just record the vocals. And Santa Baby, I had actually recorded that song. Gosh, it must have been back in I think 2015 with one of my favorite songwriters, Gardner Cole. And he'd reached out to me and said, hey, you know, I've got this track of Santa Baby. Do you want to record a vocal and kind of do your own arrangement? And of course I said yes, because I'd always wanted to work with Gardner. And so that I did that vocal arrangement at home. That one had been ready to go for a while. And of course, let's see, what's the other cover? The other cover is All Through the Night. I've always loved that song. I think one of the I'd heard that song before as a kid, but it really hit me when I watched The Sopranos. And Meadow was singing it in the choir when her father was teaching Chris a lesson out on the dock. I don't know if you remember that scene. I don't know if you watched The Sopranos, but it was the juxtaposition of her innocence and that song, you know, that's so graceful and it's so angelic, you know, and then it's like a living hell out there on the dock with what Tony is having happen to Chris. And I remember seeing that scene for the first time and thinking that is an excellent observation to use a song like that in a scene like that, because that's how this world must look from above. Like, oh my gosh, these kids are just such a mess. You know, this is really bad. This is really bad what's going on down there. And so it was March, the end of March of 2020, and everything was just hitting the fan. Right. You know, in Los Angeles, I mean, we had riots, we had the lockdown. It was just, and I was thinking that song just kept coming into my mind. I would wake up with it in my head. And I just thought, and I could not hear it being produced in any other way than acoustic guitar. And so I sat down and kind of worked it through at my piano, and the Holly and the Ivy melody just kept kind of weaving in and out in my head. And so I wove that in. And I thought, well, who can I call? And I kept thinking, well, you know, I'm kind of like hearing that Italian thing. I don't know if that's because of The Sopranos, you know, but my friend Michael Rapole, who's Italian and who's an incredible player, I knew he would be in town. He's usually out on the road with Babyface. And I called him up and I said, you know, you and I have always wanted to do our own thing together. What do you think of this idea? And he said, yeah, send it over. And I think like a day and a half later, he sent me those guitars and I just wept. Oh yeah. They were so stunning. I mean, I just thought this just might be the most. I had not done just a piano vocal or a guitar vocal in years and years and years. But then when I was putting the album order together, there was no question that had to be last on the album, because to me, it's like, okay, here's the big party. Everybody who doesn't get along, you know, maybe we're in the same room together. Maybe we're having unspoken reconciliation with each other through this festive time, because we're just enjoying the moment together. And then in the end, it's kind of like, that's God and the angels saying, okay, kids, time to go to bed. Yeah. Let's just let this sit. We got along. We did it. You know, that was the vision for it.
Yeah. Makes me wish I would have pulled a part of that off, because it's like, now I want to hear it with all that context now. And I'll probably, when we hop off here, I'll give it a listen. But the Holly and the Ivy, I've always loved that melody from that song. Just that the melody line from that song is always So good.
And nobody ever knows the words, you know,
Right.
but the thing, that melody, that is the power of
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
It's a melody that we just, oh, I love that. I mean, every time I hear that melody,
Yeah.
it's almost like words to it are too much, because the spirit of that song
Yeah.
is completely in that melody.
Yeah, it is. And
Yeah.
I love how you phrased that, but you know, because I talked about the last song, and it's like this is a big, recap of your album, and that's a real powerful sentiment, and it gives a lot of context to all through the night, and the holly and the ivy, and it has been a crazy time, and to be able to come together at Christmas time and stuff,
Yeah.
to kind of make those mends, and hopefully, we'll get through whatever the rest of
Yeah.
2021 has, and hopefully 2022 will be
yeah.
I don't want to say
A
return to
different,
I don't want to say a return to normal, because who knows what that means anymore. But maybe a return to civility would be nice.
yeah.
A return to you know compassion would be nice too. And
Well, I mean, yeah, if we can manage that, that is a good starting point.
Yeah.
I mean, I've thrown a lot of parties. I've thrown a lot of parties around Christmas time, around Halloween, a lot of summer barbecues and things like that. And I have had colleagues who do not get along, who have not gotten along for years, family members that do not speak.
Right.
But if you get a really beautiful cocktail, with a thyme sprig in there, and you get a really beautiful table setting, and you've got the right music on, maybe you have some kind of a game involved, people just can't help it. They just want to enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
And they'll put things aside. They'll put their differences aside for the day.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that then when you, over time, you see their relationships get a little bit better, because they have that fun shared experience, and all of a sudden, oh, well, you're actually you're like an extended family member. You're like and it does help things. And I think that that's what's so magical about the holiday season.
Yeah, it is. It is. Now I want to cover, I have it pulled up here. The last song, Santa Claus is Coming to Town. You take a little turn in our conversation here, because I just pulled off the first little bit of it because you had me, and you talked about things that just put people in a good mood and that bring people together. You said the right music and stuff. And as soon as I heard this intro, it's like that is here. Just everybody listen.
Yeah.
You better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town.
Just the horns and the beat of that, it's classic. Santa Claus is Coming to Town. It definitely has that Motown vibe to me, and you can't help but to smile and to have a good time with that song. And then you close it out with All Through the Night and the Holly and the Ivy, and just it's the end of a brilliant Christmas album. It really is. Every song on here has parts that make you you think. You have lyrics in here that will make you think and make you you'll have a good time. It's so well done, so well put together. You just got to be so proud to be able to offer this to people, and have people add it to their library for Christmas and to their playlists and things. So.
Well, thank you. Well, it's an honor that you would cover it, and I hope everybody loves it. All I can do is just make stuff that I would want to listen to, and I just love the feeling that Christmas creates, and so it's fun to recreate that in your own way.
Yeah. It is. It just, to be able to, I'm lucky enough to get to talk about Christmas all the time, and I, been doing this nearly maybe 3 years in this upcoming May. And, I haven't tired of it yet. And, plan on continuing to do it as long as I can. And to be able to, have people, show people this album and have them discover it. It's just, it's so much fun. Before I let you off here, let everybody know where they can find Tis the Season at, and where they can find you on the social medias.
Well, the album is available on all major digital streaming platforms. So it's on Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, Amazon, and on my socials. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and my name is spelled Rehya. So I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. And all the links to Tis the Season and all the links to Rhea's social medias will be in the show notes and descriptions. So you, that way you guys are just no more than a tap away from any of this. And I encourage everybody to go out to buy it, off of iTunes or wherever. Definitely stream it, add it to your playlists. And if you have the opportunity on Amazon or Spotify, leave that 5-star rating, because it helps, other people discover that music too. And if you need a playlist to listen to, I will be adding 2 or 3 of these songs to my Christmas Spotlight playlist that's available now. So you guys will have that. Just the links will be in the show notes and descriptions, or just search in your favorite player Christmas Spotlight, and there'll be a whole list of new artists and stuff there. Maximum of 24 songs of independent musical artists there for you to discover and to love. And Rhea, I have a few things I need to tell you.
Yeah.
Tis the Season has been nominated for the silver. I can't even talk right now. The Silver Bell Award for Best Christmas Album for this year.
Wow.
Yeah. And
wow.
And Marry Me for Christmas for Best Original Song. It's taking that nomination for the Silver Bell Award as well. And Santa Claus, you're going to be a trifecta, because you have another nomination for Santa Claus is Coming to Town as a Best Christmas Cover. So three nominations. The winners will be announced in mid-December, and I'll let you know when that's coming out. And for the first time, there will be a public vote, and guys, stay tuned for that, because the voting will open up, but it will be a short run. So be sure to stay tuned to Christmas Clatter everywhere, whether it be Facebook or Instagram, Twitter, or on YouTube, or check your email newsletter if you have subscribed. That way you do not miss it. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. That's really exciting.
Yeah, we started to make our nominations ahead of time this year for things, and let people know what's nominated, and we're gonna have some fan input on what they think should win. It's not going to be 100% fan voted on, but it will weigh in, and I have a few other podcasters and friends that will be helping me make those decisions as well. And so it's going to be a great second year for the Silver Bell Music Awards. I had to say it a little slower that time. Tongue tied again, but I really appreciate you hopping on here with me and going through Tis the Season. It's always a pleasure to talk music with you and have you on the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Christmas Clatter is a Very Merry Media production. And remember, keep Christmas hope alive every day.